What's up, all you meta-humans out there? I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, coming at you with another Young Justice Outsiders episode review. This time it's Season 3's Episode 10, titled Exceptional Human Beings. And speaking of outsiders, we see the other members of Batman's team of outsiders, Katano and Metamorpho, joining him on a mission with Oracle on comms in order for the infiltration of Santa Prisca to go off as smoothly as possible. Meanwhile, we see Silas Stone getting a call from his son, Victor Stone, as you know, Cyborg, one of the fan favorites out there and a member of the Teen Titans and the Justice League, pre-cyborgization, if that's even a word, and who is very much trying to get his dad to make sure he comes to his game tonight, as it'll be one where a lot of scouts from various colleges will be looking for the next big thing. As Silas assures his son that he will be present, Silas also gets a call from John Henry Irons, aka Steel. And if you've seen Reign of the Superman recently, you will very much already know all about him. Although I have to comment on the fact that DC is making it very hard to distinguish to the unknowing the difference between the DC movies and Young Justice, because all the models look the same and it includes all the same characters. So WTF. But, you know, John Henry Irons became a superhero before Cyborg in one, and vice versa in the other. So, you know, it should give you enough to go on, but I still hear people just mixing all that continuity all up. But Silas Stone is about to receive a father box from the Justice League in order to study. Me and my dumbass has constantly been calling them mother boxes. The difference being that mother boxes are new Genesis technology, good, benevolent, all things good and holy, whereas father boxes are apocalyptic technology, and they are made of pure evil. And they want them to, and they're giving it to Silas to study and, you know, get some intel on all its abilities. You know, it's had regenerative properties that we've seen in the very first episode of season 3, so they're looking to understand exactly what it's capable of. But Steel does warn Silas, be careful, as we don't know the capabilities of the father box. We also see the device that was stolen in a previous episode by the Shade and the various members of the League of Shadows that was actually damaged, and we even see it sparking a bit, so that's going to come to play in as well. Meanwhile, we get to see a nice display of abilities from Metamorpho, with his stealth abilities, his camouflage, all the various weird wacky things he can do. I really love Metamorpho here, because he seems very fun and interesting, and it seems like the Metamorpho I was always interested in. You know, time and time again I've seen his origin, where it's like, oh, anger, pain, I'm a monster, oh god, no, what is this, make me human again. But, you know, I never really get to see enough of after the fact, because Metamorpho later on, he owns who he's become in a lot of ways. So I'm glad to really see that on display here. Another thing we get to see on display is a little bit of Connor and McGann having a sexy bedroom time, where they just to get to know where they're at, because they're part of the main core cast, so we keep tabs on who they are. So in order to keep them in the loop of continuity, we get to see them having a little bit of a sexy naked time, as PG as we can possibly get it. And we also have the continued training of Dick's team of outsiders, where we still continue to see that they're not quite ready for the challenges that are ahead of them. As Halo, in a moment of flirtation between her and Geoforce, she loses control of her powers temporarily and gets embarrassed. Although the amount of flirtation going on between Halo and Geoforce just continues from there on out. I don't actually remember if they were even close like that in the comics. Honestly, not from what I remember. I mean, Katana was very close to Halo, much in a similar vein to Artemis, but no, here this feels like new territory as far as I can remember. And speaking of new territory, Dr. Jace and Jefferson Pierce's relationship continues to grow as they continue to talk, and her, attentiveness towards Halo and Geoforce continues as she continues to worry about their situation and, simply wish them the best. As the continued infiltration of Santa Prisca goes on, we find Lady Shiva has taken up the role of sensei for the League of Shadows and is training the various new recruits. We also see the factory within inside Santa Prisca as an unknown person is on their way to arrive as the various members of the Outsiders view from afar. Geoforce, and honestly this becomes a recurring thing with him, is the fact that Geoforce just gets really upset over the situation where he's not really being kept in the loop of what's going on in order to find his sister, with Nightwing just trying to get him to understand that he's trying to train them to the point where they're able to properly go on missions without endangering themselves and others, and they want to get as much intel as possible. He's trying to assure them that they have people on the inside trying to gain information as to what's going on with Terra Moscow. Which, speaking of which, Slade arrives in his updated design, which I'm sorry, I don't care for his DC movie design. Like, his face just looks, too many lines, man. He really does look like he diddles little girls. I'm sorry, he really does. But we come to find out that Slade Wilson is the new head of the League of Assassins, and he has come in order to observe the new shipment of weaponry off of Santa Prisca. We also come to find out that one of the recruits in the League of Shadows is Cassandra Savage, keeping in line all the continuity of her character and all that. We also find out she had a close bond with Tara Makarov when she was in training for the League of Shadows, but apparently Tara has washed out of the program and has been handed over to Granny Goodness, apparently. So it's a nice little bit of continuity, seeing that Tara did in fact have a friend in terms of her stay with the League of Shadows and her manipulation by the light as a whole. We also had this nice little bit of tension between Slade and Lady Shiva that I feel needs to be pointed out, because though she is subservient to a certain degree to Slade, she takes absolutely no shit from Slade, which should be put on record. Just think that's something very much worth noting, just in case it ever comes back and up again. Meanwhile, we see Ron Everest, who is voiced by Kyle Payton, who is the voice of Cyborg from the original Teen Titans series, as well as another person who, both of whom were, younger friends of Victor Stone, Cyborg, during different continuities in the comics, with Ron being a friend to him during the old continuity, and ironically enough, even becoming a cyborg himself later down the line, which is just brings things full circle, honestly. And the other one having originally been a rival schoolmate who had actually become close with Victor after he became Cyborg. And we even see of all people, Cisco Ramon, who is, if you watch The Flash, Vibe. So it's very interesting seeing all these characters just popping up in interesting places and locations. Now, whether or not Cisco will actually become Vibe, is anyone's guess. Maybe it might happen further down the line in a season 4, maybe, if we ever get that, or later on in the season. But the two bully him, and Victor sees this without and doesn't really act upon it, as he has his own worries. So we're not really seeing enough of Victor's heroic nature just yet. Meanwhile, as Batman stumbles upon the shipment of weaponry off of Santa Brisca, he is met by Bane, who still has his luscious lips. I'm sorry. Bane is always the best when you can only see his eyes. When you can see his mouth, no, stop that. You've gone too far. Back up. Do not do that. Only villains do that. I do not like seeing Bane's lips. It's weird and it's creepy for all the wrong reasons. We also see that Artemis is trying to enroll Violet into school, but to give her a last name, they try to figure something out. Ultimately, with it being decided that she will be named Violet Harper, but with the suggestion of Will Harper. We also see that Jade has been, stalking out the Harper residence, just to check in on her sister, her daughter, and all of that. And Will does his best in order to get, Jade to come in, be a part of their family, continue just being with them for the most part. But Jade ultimately decides that she is not the best for their daughter, her life, the way she is. She tried the whole mom thing, it just didn't stick for her, and she leaves, which ultimately, honestly, I don't remember there even being that much of a touching situation in the comics, honestly. They just had a child. Cheshire went to do her own thing. Roy did his best in order to watch over Leanne. It just, it didn't, there wasn't enough of a emotional attachment for the most part, to the point where you almost wouldn't even tell that she even cared about her daughter. But here, it's solidified. Cheshire really cared about her daughter and feels that she has no place in her daughter's life, especially with the way that she is, which is very ironic, all things considered, as she's going very much down the same path her own father did. So it might just show that some things that parents do to their children end up just being reflected onto their grandchildren, their children's children, and it's just this cycle of harm that they do to the people that they love. Although to say that Sportsmaster loves his children, to a certain degree, just feels a little bit hollow statement, honestly. But as we see the battle rage between Batman and Bane, where Batman comments on the fact that Bane is no longer using his venom, which was a storyline in certain parts of Bane's character arc, where he decided to stop using venom in order to just take back his life and just do away with the dependence, and feels that he grows stronger without the use of it. So that's a very interesting note. But before they are able to go in and help out Batman, Katana and Metamorpho are ambushed by Deathstroke and Lady Shiva, with Lady Shiva particularly choosing Katana as she wishes to take Katana's Soul Taker sword, with her saying that it will be hers. Now, the Soul Taker sword is actually just what it states, a sword that takes people's souls once they are slain by it. So a very interesting weapon, and I love this little bit of personality you see shine through from Katana. And that's all you really need to do with that character, just show off. Know that she loves battle. She's an intense fighter. There's a lot of intrigue just in this slight smile that she gives off. And I want to thank the animators for this, because it's just stuff like that. That's what animation is all about. Show, don't tell. Give clues that help build upon a character from the outside. Meanwhile, as a fight goes on between Deathstroke and Metamorpho, we see that Metamorpho's true form is very much more grotesque than the appearance that he normally has, which makes a lot more sense to me. His default form he chooses to take is a more humanoid form, while his true form is a little bit more, monstrous to a certain degree. And his comment about the fact that he's always in a constant state of pain that he's just learned to deal with, it really enlightens you to the state of Metamorpho and the situation he is in as a whole, which I think is a wonderful thing. But as the battle rages on, Batgirl decides to step in, Oracle, I should say, steps in, deciding to use the bat plane in order to just start raining down fire and brimstone from the skies, destroying a lot of the weapons cache. And with Metamorpho taking Batman and Katana out of harm's way, much to the dismay of the League of Shadows. Which, very nice kind of moment. I love the seeing that because it shows just how much like Batman and his own team can get done in comparison to what can get done by a lot of the younger members of the League and its subsidiary members. But it's a very interesting situation, and just to see Deathstroke coming into his own as leader of the League of Shadows is also a very interesting direction as well. Why was it handed over to Deathstroke? What does it accomplish by having Deathstroke lead it, especially considering he's also part of the Light? And why did Ra's al Ghul step down? A lot of questions. But as we see that Victor's team has managed to win their game, everyone cheers and cries out for Victor's name, with Victor still just being dejected by the fact that his father never showed up, which is very typical. We see that ultimately he didn't show up because he was receiving the father box from Hal Jordan of the Justice League, who I don't believe we actually saw originally. No, we did see him. We saw Hal Jordan and John Stewart. So we saw those two as well as Guy Gardner. Makes me wonder if Kyle Rayner's going to make an appearance, all things considered. But, it's good to see that. We also see a person coming out to just look for Victor, scouting him out for a position in Metropolis's university football team, saying that he'll get a free pass at 4 years and all that good stuff. One thing of note, this guy is actually an old classmate of Clark Kent's and was basically the Flash Thompson to his Peter Parker. A very interesting bit of note, but it's this shining moment for Victor, and his dad's not there, though he definitely has his hands full with the new father box bestowed upon Star Labs. So if you know anything about Victor Stone's current origins within the New 52 and even in the DCEU, you should know what's about to be led up to with the father box in possession of Silas Stone, the relationship issues between Victor and his dad, the malfunctioning machinery within Star Labs. Man, they are setting this up hard. Not to mention there's the fact that we saw the infiltration of Santa Prisca and the retaliation we will more than likely will see from the Light because of this as well. But ultimately this is still seen as Batman working independently, because ultimately the Light does not know that all the teams, the Justice League, Nightwing's group, as well as Batman's group are all working together. So that's a very interesting situation there. I also love the fact that we never really get team names, despite the fact that they are technically the Outsiders. We don't call them the Outsiders, just like how you don't call the Teen Titans or Young Justice. They're just the team. So very interesting stuff. Great to see all this development, all this continuity, more of Lady Shiva, because you can never have enough Lady Shiva, and I feel like she's never truly got her dose outside of Beware the Batman, and even there it's just kind of like, who really watched Beware the Batman? Which was actually also set up for Batman and the Outsiders, because you had Katana, Metamorpho, and I think they were going to eventually introduce Black Lightning. So it's just like all these layers upon layers upon layers, just keeps going, man, just keeps rolling around. But this was a fun episode. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What was your favorite part, or what part did you not much care for? And if you liked this video, feel free to leave me a like or a dislike if you didn't much care for what I had to say or hear, and tell me what I'm doing wrong in the comment section below, just in case. Music is actually done by Timothy Seals, which is done for the Red Hood The Fallen fan movie, so check that out if you can. A really great movie. Excellent stuff. But feel free to also subscribe if you want to hear more reviews of Young Justice, because I still got a couple more episodes before the hiatus until they start releasing more episodes, and I think it was either June or July, so I'm definitely just trying to play catch up at this point. But thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.